They fired me for logging in late. That's what they wrote on the HR report. Violation of digital access protocol. Unauthorized remote activity. What they didn't write, what they never could, was what I found. Because what I found wasn't a bug or a leak or some HR scandal. It was a server, one that wasn't supposed to exist, one they thought no one would ever see. And now I can't unsee it. It started on a Tuesday night. I was home in my apartment, still in the hoodie I wore to work, eating reheated pasta and trying to knock out one last task before I forgot. I'm not the type to leave things half-finished. It bugs me. The system scan I'd kicked off at the office that day had frozen at 84%. A firewall snag, I figured. Nothing special. So I logged in, navigated through the admin shell, and launched a low-level trace just to confirm which port had failed. And that's when it happened. Instead of rerouting me to our secure test environment, the trace hit a dead path. Not a timeout. Not a bounce. A return ping. A live signal from a server that wasn't on the infrastructure map. Now, in most companies, stray servers aren't uncommon. Legacy systems. Hidden backups. Something someone forgot to label correctly. But this one was different. Its path string read VXT Infernium. No user permissions listed. No history logs. No recent connections. It was like it had been buried on purpose. So I did what any analyst with half a brain and a full backup would do. I tried to open it. The first wall was simple. Admin override. Took me 30 seconds. The second layer was smarter. Rotating authentication key. I used an old brute sequence we used to test internal security. It cracked. The folder tree loaded. Just for a second. Then the screen went black, and the connection died. But in that second, I saw enough. Project folders, surveillance videos, encrypted contracts. 2 file names burned themselves into my brain. Employee Purge Protocol. MP4 and client, tier. Gov Altai didn't click either. I didn't have time. The system kicked me out before. I could even run a scrape. But what it didn't stop was the trace log. That's how I knew the server was real, and that someone else had accessed it before. I backed out, disconnected, and sat there staring at my laptop like it had just tried to bite me. I told myself I was imagining things, that maybe it was a glitch or a honeypot test file planted by internal security. But the pit in my stomach said otherwise. So I saved the session log, saved the network headers, took screenshots, zipped everything and copied it onto a flash drive, just in case, and went to bed. The next morning, I showed up to work like nothing had happened. My badge scanned, my terminal lit up. I even had time to finish the report I'd been working on for the DevSec team, but just before noon, I got a message. HR office, 11:45, mandatory. When I walked in, my boss didn't even look up. 2 people from security were already in the room. A printed form was waiting on the desk. Termination for breach of digital protocol. Effective immediately, no explanation, no discussion, just the sentence. You accessed restricted systems after hours without clearance. I tried to speak, tried to ask what system they meant, tried to explain, but my boss didn't blink. We're not going to debate it, Leah, he said. Your access has been revoked. You'll be escorted to collect your belongings. I looked him dead in the eye. You have no idea what I saw, do you? That's when he flinched. Just slightly. Enough for me to know he wasn't in control. Someone else was, and whoever they were, they wanted me gone. They walked me out with a white box and a silent escort. No goodbyes, no questions, just that awful blankness, the kind that comes when everyone pretends not to see you. I went home, locked my door, and opened the flash drive. The logs were intact, the path was real, and somewhere inside that company is a secret server called Infernium, and whatever they're hiding there is bad enough to fire people just for getting too close. Wasn't supposed to find it, but I did, and I'm not done. I didn't leave my apartment for the next 2 days. Not because I was scared, at least not entirely. I was angry. That quiet kind of rage that coils under your skin and makes everything sharp. They thought firing me would wipe the slate, that I'd walk away, tuck my head down, and pretend I didn't see what I saw. They didn't realize who they were dealing with. I still had the logs. The screenshot, the zipped trace data from that brief window. I cracked open the server. So I started with that. Cross-referenced timestamps, searched for internal logins that matched my session ID range, and there they were. 3 other users. 3 other timestamps. All of them had hit VXT Infernium in the last 18 months. The user tags weren't labeled with names, just employee IDs. But I knew someone who could help. Nathan Ramos, IT Compliance. We used to share vending machine gripes and dumb memes before our department reshuffled. He owed me a favor, so I called him. I need you to look up 3 employee IDs, I said. He paused. I can't give you names. You're off the network. Leah. Not asking for files, I said. Just yes or no. Are they still with the company? I gave him the numbers. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, 2 were let go within a month of each other, last year. The third, her name was Ellie Chu. She never got officially terminated. What does that mean? It means her record stopped mid-pay cycle, no exit interview, no HR sign-off, just gone. Gone. I found Ellie's social media. Profile. Stale. Last post from 11 months ago, just a photo of Lake Michigan and a caption that read, needed to breathe. Nothing since. I ran a skip trace. She'd moved out of state, temporarily rented a place in Montana, no current address. No known job. No recent activity. She had vanished. The second employee, Mark Davison, was easier. He'd left the company 6 weeks after accessing the server. His exit interview file? Sealed. But I found something else. A local news article buried in the Tribune's. Backlogs. Man killed in late-night bicycle collision. No surveillance, no witnesses. That was Mark, 29. Lived alone. Worked in IT systems. No criminal record. No enemies. Just a bike accident. The third name, Annika Patel, was harder to track. Until I found a single forum comment on a whistleblower thread from 9 months ago. The username was Third Trace. The comment read, I found something I shouldn't have. It wasn't just a bug. It was a protocol. I'm leaving before they erase me too. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the first, I was the fourth, and I was the first one to still be looking. Back in the files, I cracked open one of the corrupted subfolders using Dax's decryption tool, and there it was. Employee, purge, protocol, DEMP4IT. Wasn't footage, it was a screen recording of an internal system command list, showing how to flag a user's profile for containment review, access their private communications, wipe their credentials, monitor their physical movement using badge, activity at the bottom of the list, recommended resolution, digital erasure plus character degradation, if public-facing. It was a corporate kill command, without blood, but with the same result. I called Dax. I think they're digitally assassinating anyone who touches that server, I said. He was quiet, for a moment. Then, I need you to come here, now. Bring everything you have. We're going to blow this open. I packed the drive, the logs, the screenshots, and the growing feeling that I was in over my head, but I didn't care, because someone had to finish what Ellie, Mark, and Annika started. They logged in before me, and now I was going to be the one who stayed. Dax's place was a fortress disguised as a cabin. No smart devices, no windows facing the road. 2 Wi-Fi routers, one real, one fake, and a biometric lock on a basement lab that made me feel safer the second I stepped inside. He plugged in my drive, scanned for hidden packets, and nodded. Clean. You were lucky. I wasn't lucky, I said. I was fast, he smirked. Then let's see what they tried to hide. We started with the Infernium Stage 3 folder, encrypted, nested, camouflaged under the structure of a harmless archive directory. But inside, it wasn't harmless. It was a simulation suite. Thousands of user profiles, behavior tracking models, psychological, pressure responses, mapped over months. And every profile had one thing in common. They didn't know they were being tested. These weren't volunteers. They were employees, interns, contractors, even vendors. And Solicet had been collecting everything. Key logs, badge movements, voice pattern shifts in meetings, even reaction times to stress emails. Then cross-referencing the data with civil unrest simulations. It was predictive warfare. Modeled on people like me, Dax leaned over the terminal. This isn't just shady. This is criminal. He pulled up a program log tagged Infernium Ripple Test 7A. The output made my blood run cold. It was a live feed of a test simulation. A simulation of a real neighborhood, mapped down to street names, public schools, voting districts, and on the top corner, mild panic induction, Phase A, simulated response time to truth leak. They were testing how communities would react to secrets being exposed, which meant they weren't just selling information, they were selling chaos management. I opened the command history. One entry stood out. Flag, L. Vaughn. Containment recommendation, shadow track. They had tagged me and issued a recommendation. I was officially listed as a contingency threat, and Dax found something else. A payment authorization from Solicet to a company called Vandrex Global Logistics. But Vandrex wasn't a logistics firm. It was a front. We traced it through 2 shell registries, finally landing on a VPN-guarded mirror site in the Caymans. And there, in the metadata, was the last thing I expected to see. Recipient, Infernium Buyer Group. Phase transition, Phobos, another. Project, a worse one. They're scaling this, Dax said, selling the model to clients who want to manipulate crowds, governments, contractors, maybe worse. I leaned back. My voice was steady. How do we stop it? He looked at me. We don't leak it. We nuke it. The plan was simple. Back up. Everything. Twice. Leak the Infernium report to 3 separate watchdog sites simultaneously. Override Solicet's Summit livestream in 5 days and make the exposure unignorable. But that meant we needed access. To the venue. The AV booth. The feed control panel. And that meant going back inside. The same place that blacklisted me. The same place that erased 3 people before me. But this time, I wasn't sneaking in for curiosity. I was walking in with fire. We thought we had time. 72 hours until the summit. 72 hours to back everything up, finalize the exposure plan, and coordinate our 3-leak strategy. We didn't even make it to hour 18. It started when the laptop screen went dark. Dax had just finished syncing Infernium's contents to 3 mirrored drives when the room suddenly dimmed. His system blinked. Then every terminal in the basement flashed the same message. Warning, local compromise detected. Remote override in progress. He cursed under his breath. This wasn't brute force. They piggybacked on a heartbeat check. That means the floor creaked above us. Then again. Someone was inside the house. Dax hit the power kill switch and grabbed the backpack with our clones. Out the back, he whispered. We slipped through the hidden utility hatch, crawled into the woods behind the house, and ran 3 blocks before we stopped. The cabin, already smoked, not burned, fried, EMP pulse from inside, clean, quiet, no trace left. Whoever came didn't need to break anything. They just wanted us to know They were watching, and next time, they wouldn't miss. We regrouped at a safe house Maya arranged, one of Dax's old friends from his whistleblower days. A storage facility with an unlisted back office and a Faraday-caged server bay, but the drives? Gone. During the rush, one of the 3 clones went missing. It had been in Dax's coat pocket. We didn't know how, or when, or who, but someone had reached us already. I underestimated. Them, Dax said quietly. They have embedded surveillance tech, layered, maybe even psychic mapping programs. I stared at him. You think they're inside people's heads? He didn't blink. No, I think they're close. The next morning, my bank account froze. All my passwords were changed. My LinkedIn showed I'd been let go for cause. An anonymous Twitter thread painted me as a disgruntled ex-employee spreading conspiracy theories, and my landlord received a call reporting me for unauthorized surveillance activity in the building. Everything about me was being erased, again. But this time, not by HR, by professionals. That night, a package showed up at the storage office. No return address, just a thumb drive inside and a folded note. You found Infernium, but Phobos is already live. Leave now, or you won't. We plugged the drive into an air-gapped machine. It contained one video, Ellie Chu alive, terrified, speaking directly into the camera. If you're seeing this, it means they didn't get you yet, but they will. They don't care about the data. They care about the model. They're not deleting people to hide secrets. They're deleting people to test reactions. She leaned closer. They're watching. Me. Don't come looking. The screen went black. I looked at Dax. This was never about cleaning up after a leak. He nodded grimly. It was a live trial. They needed to see what people do when the lie falls apart, and I was their best test subject yet. They held the investor summit at the Azure Crown Hotel, the kind of place where the windows are bulletproof and the lighting is engineered to make people feel safe while signing million-dollar checks. It was clean, glassy, smiling. I walked in through the vendor entrance in black slacks, a press badge forged by Maya, and a fiber cord laced down my sleeve. My name tag said I worked for Westlight Events. AV crew. No one even looked twice. Inside, Dax was already in position, disguised as a live stream technician, syncing cameras for the CEO's speech. The main hall was stunning. 3-tiered chandeliers uplighting against a 90-foot screen and hundreds of people in suits sipping champagne while being told nothing was wrong. Behind that screen was a different reality, a live access port Maya had hacked into 2 days earlier. The moment the CEO plugged in for his speech, Dax would trigger the overwrite, and I'd take the mic. We had one shot, one stream, no edits, no undo. At 6:58 p.m., the CEO walked onto the stage, Clive Markham, polished cold. A man who signed deals with one hand and silenced employees with the other. He, tapped the mic, smiled, opened with a joke about market volatility and timely pivots. People laughed. Then the screen behind him glitched. Just once. Then again. Then it went black. Suddenly it lit up with one phrase. Infernium. Evidence of a digital purge system running inside Solaset Technologies, gasps. The room shifted. Then the screen played a video, not of charts or code or documents, but of Ellie Chu, her message. Her fear. Her warning. Then, Mark Davison's police report, Annika Patel's final forum comment. Then me. My name is Leah Vaughn. And I was fired for logging in too late. But what I found was the truth beneath your balance sheets. I stepped, up from the shadows and onto the stage. Security began moving, hesitant, confused, waiting for someone to authorize an approach. But the crowd wasn't focused on me. They were focused on the screen behind me, now showing Infernium dashboards, employee psychological modeling, and Phobos activation schedules. The company you invested in, I said, has been running live human behavior experiments for years, watching how we react to fear, pressure, lies, and selling that data to foreign buyers who use it to simulate collapse and provoke it. Then I said the name they feared most. Phobos is real. The screen split into 7 windows, each showing early-stage contracts between Solicet and shell companies, payments, surveillance models, the testing parameters of digital erasure, and a final document, authorization to begin Phase 1 in 3 cities across the U.S., starting next month. Someone in the crowd screamed. 2 reporters stood, filming. Security finally rushed me, but I held the mic with everything I had. "You can shut this off," I said. "But you can't undo the emails I sent. The files are already out. The video is live. And if anything happens to me, there's a backup ready to trigger Phase Widow across every major leak site." They froze. That wasn't a bluff. That was Dax's failsafe. I was escorted out, not violently, just quickly. But as they dragged me toward the side doors, I saw board members scrambling to the exits, phones ringing, clients storming out, and I smiled, because I hadn't just exposed Infernium, I'd crashed their illusion in real time. That night, the video hit 1 million views. By morning, 4 board members resigned, congressional subpoenas were issued, and Solicet's site went dark, but that wasn't the end. 2 days later, I received an encrypted message from an unknown sender. No subject, no signature, just one line. Phobos. Will activate, with or without them. Attached, a map of 3 cities, each labeled Pulse Control Crowd Reaction Mass Test, Live. I looked at Dax. "This isn't over." He nodded. "It's just beginning." I didn't sleep the night the map arrived. 3 cities, 3 test sites, each labeled with sterile clinical terms: pulse control, crowd reaction, mass test, live. But I knew exactly what they meant. Phobos. Wasn't a theory anymore. It was moving, and I had a choice to make: vanish, like the others, or fight back in the open. Dax and I split up. He went dark, heading east to track the origin IP from the message. I stayed west, digging into the cities on the map: Cleveland, Sacramento, Jacksonville. They weren't chosen randomly. Each had recent anomalies buried in local reports: civilian protests that escalated unnaturally fast, traffic, systems that failed in perfect synchronization, false reports spread in minutes with no clear origin. Phobos had already soft-launched its simulation layer, and it had started feeding real-world instability into live data refinement loops. It was learning. Every riot, every panic, every silence. Feeding the next one. Then, the worst confirmation came from Maya. She pinged me at 2:07 a.m. They're feeding real-time facial data from protest crowds into Phobos servers. It's not just prediction anymore. It's behavioral correction, crowd-level conditioning. They weren't just watching people fall apart. They were teaching other people how to trigger it. At sunrise, I got another email. No greeting, no threats, just a video footage from inside the Azure Crown Hotel, the night of the summit. Me, on stage, but from an angle that no one could have filmed. Hidden camera. Zoomed in on my face. Captioned, "You passed the test. Most don't." Below it, an invitation. Linked on a digital key labeled, "Entry, Mirror Line." Maya traced the link to a secure server hosted by a satellite proxy outside U.S. jurisdiction. The access required a voice print and the phrase, "I don't believe in control." I said it. The screen went black, then lit up with a phrase I'll never forget. There are more of us. A new interface loaded. Dozens of encrypted logs, video clips, chats. People who had done what I did in other companies. Other countries, other systems. A global shadow network. They called it Mirror Line. A coalition of defectors, digital rebels, former engineers and analysts who escaped corporations just like Solicet. People who found buried code, experimental tools, predictive control systems, and lived to warn someone else. I wasn't alone, and I wasn't the first. But now, I was one of them. They gave me a choice. Go dark, disappear, live quietly with a new identity and let someone else carry the torch. Or step. Fully in join Mirrorline, fight Phobos and every other system like it from the inside. Map their weaknesses, leak the data, build countermeasures. It wouldn't be safe, but it would be honest. And for once in my life, I felt ready to stop surviving and start targeting the machine that had been targeting us. So I clicked accept, and a final screen appeared. Black background, white text. Welcome to the other side of the firewall. Your code name is now active. Signal, red. Underneath, first assignment pending. Until then, watch everything. Record everything. Trust nothing. Shut the laptop. Sat back and smiled. Because Solicet tried to erase me. Phobos tried to use me. But they forgot one thing. I log in after hours, and I never log out.